Okay. Hi, everybody. It's April 11th. Somebody sent me a picture this morning of a picture of their phone. A child had sent them a sign, and it was at 11:11 on the 11th. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that. So perfect kind of segue into our guest today, our member spotlight with our own Rhonda Andrews. I'm Paige Lee, co-founder of Transcending Grief, and really happy that you guys could join us today. Those of you that are live and those of you who are watching this on replay. Rhonda, we were just chatting. I've known Rhonda for about 4 years now, since my re-entry into helping parents heal, right? Not my original. Of course, Reese was still alive then when Brian and I were doing the HPH gig way back when, right? In 2009, 2010. But in any event, our paths crossed when I kind of came back to HPH in 2020, I think it was, 2019 maybe. In any event, I've gotten to know her quite well. I adore her. She has the kindest, most gentle heart. She's the affiliate leader for the Austin Helping Parents Heal group. She's a volunteer for the Transcending Grief group that we have, and she's just always willing to help. Her son Reese is magical and fascinating, and just a really interesting kid, and he is so creative and inventive in the ways that he reaches out to his mom. So I'll let her tell you all those amazing stories. But Rhonda, welcome, and thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you all, and I'm just honored to be here. And I hope y'all feel a little bit more uplifted. I'll just kind of tell you my story or some of my signs and stuff. A little bit about my son. It's been a little over 7 years. Reese was 17, and he passed by suicide, which, obviously is just another, well, no matter how it is, it's hard, let's face it. But, I look back and I just think, gosh, you look back, if I had, why didn't I notice this? Or, but I don't go there very often anymore. I go towards the future because I think Janice is on it. And a few other people, my whole thing is that he's in my future. And, gosh, I guess I'll start at the beginning, but I have to tell my future story. But so, yeah, he did take his own life. Prior to that, he had kept a notebook. And he journaled a lot and he spent a lot of time in his room. He was a junior in high school, and never gotten any trouble in school or anything, but I knew that he had this journal and he had left it out. Like he wanted me to read it or something, but I didn't, I should have, but I didn't want to, get my kids' space. But he had written several letters, like over 70 letters to family, to friends at school. They were all in this journal. And I had asked him, I was like, what is the deal with all these letters you're writing? And he said, oh, I'm just going to give them, I want to, give them to my friends when I graduate, which at the time, I don't know, that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I didn't worry about it. But really, take his life. He backpack, which turned to us. And this notebook was gone and his whole room was clean. But then I couldn't find the notebook anywhere. And I was almost relieved. I remember just being released.
Hey, Rhonda, hang on just a second. Is that my internet cutting out or hers? Are you guys getting?
It's cutting out on me too. So.
Yeah. So Rhonda,
it's hers.
Okay, so Rhonda, your internet's kind of cutting in and out. I don't know, because we can hear you.
I can get on my phone.
Yeah. I just am saying because it will hear you and then you'll kind of freeze up and then we're popping back in mid sentence. So,
if I take it to another part of the house, can you guys hear?
I mean, maybe. I don't know if it's your connection or if it's stormy. Let me turn it shouldn't be on my end.
Try another room.
Yeah, you might try a room closer to your router. Get as close to your router as you can get, maybe. And we'll give that a shot. We lost somebody. I'm not sure who we lost.
Okay. Is it better?
Yeah, let's give it
Can
another
you
shot.
guys hear me?
Okay.
Am I
Yeah. We'll give it another shot.
okay?
And if that doesn't work, maybe
Okay.
switch to your phone. Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
Okay. Oh, no, no, let me know. Hope you didn't miss anything. I was talking about the notebook. Did y'all get the information on the notebook?
Yes, we got that he'd written the notebook, he'd left it out, but you didn't read it. And then one
Okay.
day he
Okay.
left, his room was clean
Okay.
and the notebook was gone. Was that correct?
The day he took his life, the room was very clean and the notebook was gone. And I really had hoped that he had just dumped it somewhere because I did not want to, because he'd written a bunch of stuff in it, but I wasn't ready to read any of that. And I remember just going into his room and okay, I'm going to look under the bed. Please don't let the notebook be there. Please don't let it be there. I just can't. And it wasn't. But going back with the notebook, about 6 weeks later, the police department contacted us. And then he, in addition to his big backpack, he had a little sling backpack and it had the notebook in it. And I guess, they had kept it for evidence or whatever. And so I got the notebook back. And he had handwritten about, I think, around 70 individual letters. And then he had written about 10 pages of stuff, which I truly have not read all of it yet because I still can't. But as far as the letters go, he was like, please hand these out to all my friends and let them know that they could share them. So that first summer after he passed, I don't know how I did it, but I think we have angels that come in and help us with this stuff when we're still in the fog. But I contacted one by one. I contacted every single one of these friends and made an appointment for them to come to the house. And some of them brought their parents, which is understandable because it's a weird situation, but they were just lovely, lovely letters. I mean, just beautiful letters. And I'll just share an example of one of them because I read through all of them first before I handed them out. But one of them was there was identical twin girls that he'd each written a separate letter to. And they came over together to get their letters. And basically the letter was just like every day when I walked down the hall, one of you would say, hey, Reese. And I would say, hey, Kaylee, or hey, Kylie. And he said, that made me feel so good when you just said hello to me. So I just think my kid was empathetic and he wasn't, this world wasn't for him. So, I think but it was a hard thing to do, but I still have this journal of letters, which now I'm so grateful for. But the first 6 weeks, I didn't want any. But anyway, to go back to his passing, I think the first big sign that we really got, and my husband actually got it, and he's really not that much into this. I mean, he lets me do whatever I want to do with it. He knows I go to retreats, but he really doesn't know what it's all about and stuff, but he's not that big into it. But the day after Reese's, we had a celebration of life. And the following day, he was a member of the Dairy Queen Blizzard of the Month Club. And he got an email the day, and it said, Reese's fans rejoice, this big email. And because the Reese's was the Dairy Queen of the month that day. And I just get goosebumps still with that one. It just made me feel so good. And the fact that when it said fans rejoice, I just felt like everyone is so happy that he is not stuck in this ugly human, he's where he needs to be, and it's a rejoiceful situation. But
and not only that, Rhonda, but rejoice is like kind of a heavenly word, right? We're like rejoice.
It was just the way
like the angels are rejoicing. Yeah, I love that. Very good.
But it was just, that was just like I was kind of like, oh wow. But my situation, at that point I'd been doing yoga about 4 years, and I knew there was a teacher just yoga, but her and several of the other teachers came to his celebration. And I want to say long after a week, maybe 2 weeks, a couple of my friends were over, and because you have everyone that comes and sits with you, so you don't have to be alone, but which I loved actually. But one of my friends that I do yoga with, we were just in the middle of a conversation, and she just goes, there's something I want to tell you, but we're just afraid to tell you. And I was like, well, just please tell me. And so it turns out that this teacher that I did yoga with, the way it was worded was she isn't, well, they didn't use the word medium, but they said she has a connection to the other side. And they said after the celebration, Caroline felt, really bad. And she went back and she was able to make a connection. She goes, she didn't contact Reese, but she got hold of your father. And my father had just passed 2 months before Reese. And I know he's older and stuff, but she didn't know any of this. And anyway, it was like the first, yay, oh my God, someone, yeah. And they said she contacted, and he was with this other person named John. And she's giving me this information that she had talked to my father. And I was like, I've got to reach out to this. Yeah, he probably kind of knew. Anyway, I got in contact with her, and my friend Carolina came over. She was over about 2 hours, but she said, I wasn't able to reach Reese. She said, but I talked to your father, and she said, and your father was with this man named John, which I know, unfortunately, is like one of probably the most common. I wish, his name was Oliver or something, but it was John. But she goes, he's with this man named John, middle-aged man that he hangs out with. And I thought, well, God, John. And then it hit me that I live in Austin, and I had a cousin, and I don't have very many cousins in Austin. Most of them are spread across this nation, but John lived in Austin with me. And John, a few years before my dad passed, he was riding his bike and he was hit by a car and killed. And my dad was really close to John. They were like father, son, rather than uncle, just all these years. So it just made perfect sense that when she said that, it kind of clicked. And so I started, it almost got to be where I was just dependent on her. Have you talked to Reese? Because I just started getting information from her. But, and then I guess like a month after that, I went to some other spiritual retreat, and there was a medium there giving messages. And she didn't get my son, but I told her that my son was over there. And she said, yeah, he's with your father. And she goes, and there's someone else. It's a male, it's a cousin, which that just made sense because that was John. And so anyway, I got information from Caroline. I don't know, kind of everything she knew was all the stuff I believe now. Like she was like, there's reincarnation is real. And she was 100% convinced. And at the time, I wasn't sure about that. And she was like, and we all have spirit guides and we all have guardian angels. And so she just opened me up to the whole thing. And really for the first 6 months until I actually had a real reading, she was sort of my connection to Reese on the other side. And then, at some point I'd see her and I'd be like, well, have you had any connection? And she said, I was able to reach out today. And she goes, I talked to John. And she goes, and I've got a sketch of him. And she drew this sketch of John, his head, and it looked exactly like my cousin John, who's not on Facebook. I found a picture, just he had the receding hairline and identical. So that was kind of my first, I believe, this is really the real thing. And as far as, I guess, I've had several readings. And right at the beginning, I just started studying the near-death experiences. Because one of the first books that was handed to me was that Imagine Heaven by John Burke. I don't know if y'all have read that one. But that just feeds into all these other things. So I just really fell into the near-death experiences. And I mean, the first year, I'm not going to say it wasn't hard, but truly, it didn't take me long, just from weird little signs and stuff. And I've had so many, but I kind of quit writing them all down. But he just sends like a recent one, was he just used to always listen to that song. And you guys, like the final countdown, the final countdown, dun, 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 dun. And he, and this was before we all had iPhone, and he would just listen to it in the office over and over and over to where we would be sick of it. But it wasn't this angelversary. It was a year ago. on his anniversary, I just got in the car and I was like, Reese, if you can do anything for me today, I need to hear the final countdown. And I turned on the radio and the final countdown came on, and you don't hear that song that often. But I feel like I'm bouncing all around. But I wanted to go back into some of my just early, I talked to Caroline about 6 months. My first reading was with a woman in Austin, and it was in person. And she was good friends with someone else that I know, that I trust. And she just got names. What happened was when she first did it, she came through, and I didn't even say anything about my father, but she's like, I've got 2 people here. She described Reese to a T. And I just went over there, and she recorded it, went over there, exhilarated. And I guess if anything, what I say to people is that first medium reading has got to be really, really good. Because it guides it towards.
What was that medium's name?
Her name is Linda Drake.
Linda Drake.
D-R-A-K. And she's Austin. She's an Austin medium.
Oh,
and she's in Austin. I don't even know. Actually, I can throw in a weird story with her, because I met someone else that, she just, knew stuff. But I guess just to give you guys just weird stuff that had happened, roughly a year after Reese had passed. Okay, let me go into my future thing. There were about, I guess I feel like I'm jumping all around, but about 2 weeks after Reese had passed, there was another woman at yoga who I knew just because she went all the time, but her stepdaughter had passed like 3 years before. And she found out what had happened to me, and she contacted me, and she's like, and anyway, her husband, who it was his daughter, he had lost his daughter to suicide 3 years earlier. And he had also lost his 2.5-year-old daughter like 30 years ago. His wife and his 2.5-year-old daughter had been killed in a car accident. So they had been through a lot. But that was probably the first person I met up with, and I met them at a track, and I think we walked, I don't know, probably like 15 times around the track and just talked. And, he was they were very reassuring. So sometimes you just need to get out and just talk about, just talk. But, so they were kind of the first person we met. Then other things along the way, like I found Helping Parents Heal. And I found that through Mark Pitstick's website. I think I was just bouncing around different things. And I remember I got on there and I thought, ooh, these people look a little bit, I'm going to be honest. It was just like, it was this group of people. We still talk to her, and I was like, I'm just not ready for this shit. And then about 3 months later, I got on again, and I reached out to a caring listener. I don't think she's a caring listener anymore. But we made contact, and she said, it was about 6 months before the first conference. And she's like, you've got to sign up and go to this conference. And I didn't know anyone or anything. And I was just like, I'm just going to sign up and go to the conference. And this was, I guess, 6 years ago now. The conference was amazing.
The first conference. I was there too. Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, the conference was very amazing, very uplifting. But and I was about a year in at that point. And at that point, I was really doing okay, because I had read early on, and it was somehow I had come across, and it's a Christian related article, but it talked about a young couple who had lost their 9-year-old daughter, and they were both missionaries. And they just could not understand how this had happened. How could they lose the 9-year-old daughter? We do all this good stuff. And anyway, in the article, it said, the mother was at the kitchen one time, just, shattered. And she just reached out to God and said, how do I do this? And she got the message that your child is still fully alive and your child is in your future. And I don't know why that one just resonated with me, because and then I started, every time I felt a little bad, I just think, well, he's in my future. I just got to get through this temporary period of time. He's in my future. And I don't know, that one just really helps me. So I just always share
that. I love that. He's in your future.
I don't know. I mean, it's just something, it's like I can get through the present. He's in my future.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still know he's with me all the time, all this time now. Because I get like all the little signs and stuff. He sends hearts and all the time he sends stuff. And then I guess, another weird thing that happened was, and it was 13 months after Reese passed, my older son's roommate at college took his life. This was Luann Brent. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
And so he had been, down this path already before. And then it was really probably one of his best friends. And I had met the roommate. I'd met his mom a few times, maybe 3 times. She lived in Dallas, though. And I'm in Austin. Dallas it's more Bible Belt, conservative. Austin's really liberal, but, it's a little bit more conservative up there. But I'd met Luann about 3 times, but I didn't really know her well. But I think I had reached out when Brent passed, just because of this situation. Anyway, about a month after Brent passed, I had a reading and it was going, it was fine. Reese was coming through and stuff. And then she goes, there's this gentleman in the background that keeps trying to bust in. She goes, he's kind of standing off in the background. She goes, I don't know, he's probably early 20s or mid 20s. I think she might have said he had blonde hair. And she goes, and it's a BR name. She goes, it's either Brian or Brady or something like that. And she goes, he just wants you to get a message to his mom. Anyway, she's like, at the time when you're having a reading, your mind, and I'm thinking, I can't think of anyone, because I was thinking of friends of Reese. And then she goes, he's not connected to you at all. He's connected to someone else in your family is the connection. And then it clicked, and I said, Brent. And then, the way these mediums do it, she like looks up and she goes, are you Brent? And then she comes back, she goes, yeah, it's Brent. And she goes, all he wants, he's just trying to push through. He's trying to get a message he wants you to let his mom know that he is okay. Well, any of us that have been with this in the beginning, it's woo-woo and weird stuff. And I was like, this lady's going to think I'm crazy. And in my mind, because I knew she went to church, which now I know that doesn't really matter. It's like I know she regularly goes to church. She's just going to think I'm crazy if I tell her this. And about a month passed. I just sat on it. And I had reached out to another group of moms I'm in, and I said, here's the deal. I got this message through a medium about, this friend of mine's son, or I don't really know her that well, and of course they were all, you've got to tell her. So I just sent her a message, and I said, you might think I'm crazy if you never want to talk to me, but this is the deal. And I told her exactly what had happened. And as long as it took for her to read, immediately she was calling me, because I didn't have her number, but it said like maybe, and it said, her name. And I was like, you don't know. She can chew me out and say I'm a witch or whatever. She just called me back, and she was just thrilled beyond, because this was the first, connection she had with Brent on the other side. Just
Rhonda?
thrilled. So I guess that's the
Can I ask a question, Rhonda? Is this Luann Sanders?
Sure.
Is this Luann Sanders?
Yes.
I didn't realize you knew her before.
Yeah,
it's Elizabeth.
Yeah, and I apologize. Yeah, I thought it was you, Elizabeth. I'm on my iPad, and I can't read people's names.
Yeah, Elizabeth.
Yeah, and I know you would never know. Yeah. So
I didn't realize we knew each other before. Actually, that's amazing. Yeah.
Well, just through my son was in college with her in another city, or her son in another city. And, and to be perfectly honest, Luann is probably more woo-woo than me. in some ways now, but I was just panicked. Do I tell her? But I thought that was so amazing, the way our kids can come through, because Luann was not going to go to medium at that time, and just, pass the message along. I feel like I'm just blabbering, but
no, that's
so that was
it's all part of your story. I remember when a medium I was supposed to deliver messages to Brian's dad. We were divorced, and I'm like, no way. Like, I am not delivering these messages to this man. He's as grounded as they come, And anyhow, I finally did, but because, Brian's nagging me, tell my dad, and I'm like, oh, and, he's just kind of like, okay, Paige. He just thinks I'm crazy. He does. He was one that he just thinks I'm crazy, but he thinks
I was glad that,
he's like, okay, if that makes you feel better. He's one of those. So I'm glad Luann accepted it better than he did. But so it's kind of like, you never know if somebody's going to believe or not. And it's really none of our business. Our job is to just pass on the messages. And that's what you did.
I just knew, being a mom, I knew I had to pass on that message. And and Luann has been, just, I see each other a lot now. So and like I said, she's very woo-woo now. But I guess I can go back to also the first conference. I'll just go back to an epiphany I had there, just to let y'all know that, these retreats and conferences, you never know what you're going to get. And this one was kind of life-changing for me too. But I had met, I don't know if y'all know Tava Wilson. She does a lot. You know her, right, Paige? You know Tava? Yeah. She moved to Austin. And I connected with her on a Zoom meeting very early on. I mean, I was only 6 months in. And Christina, her daughter, our kids had so many similarities. They both passed by suicide. They were both 17. They were both very big swimmers, really like, trophies, and swim a lot. So they just had all this stuff in common. So she was the only person that I really knew, really like the first year, that had been through what I'd been through. And so I was constantly, during those hard times, like when the anniversary was coming up, I was like, he's with Christina, they're together, and we kind of just, they're together. And that was, we sort of gave each other support. They're together, they're having fun. And, and it really helped when that first year rolled around, because I was like, I know and Christina's beautiful. So if you're going to be stuck with someone in heaven, I mean, Reese would want to be with Christina, because she's just amazing kiddo. But it was just our thing. They're together. And then we went to the first conference and we roomed together. And the day before the conference, we went for this walk out on the grounds. And I remember Tava was like, oh my God, look at this hummingbird. And this hummingbird was coming right up to us. And I really hadn't seen a hummingbird in years, but it was just flying around us. There was nothing else out there. And we noticed this hummingbird. So the next day we went to, they had like the breakout sessions with the different mediums. And I was like, let's go see this one guy. Because I think Mark Ireland had really liked this medium. So I was like, he's got to be good. Let's go see him. And I kind of dragged Tava to that. And she didn't know who he was. And we went in there and he was just giving messages to different people. And I thought, I feel like I dragged her in here. And we could have seen someone else. I think there was like 4 different things going on. But then there was a part like 300 people, and there was a floor room. But then he zeroed in on us, and we each had people sitting on other sides of us, but he said, you two right there. And you kind of, are you talking about that part? He's like, no, you. And he, said like what we were both wearing. And he goes, you two. He goes, you've got a son, you've got a daughter, pointing to each one of us. He goes, and they hang out together all the time. And he goes, and your son, he goes, who's Kevin? He's connected to someone named Kevin. And that's my husband, who was not at the conference. But and then he mentioned the hummingbird. You're going to see hummingbirds and stuff. And he mentioned that. And then he did something that really impressed me. I think he gave me more clues and stuff. And then he kind of moved away and spoke to the audience. And because he said this, and I don't want to get sadder than y'all, but he goes, seeing something like this, and my Reese did use a gun, and he stopped what he was doing and he moved away and started talking to the general audience, and he just started talking about how how you can't judge if someone passes by suicide, that the soul, just the soul might be meant to leave. They're all different ways, and he just, I don't want to say positive, but he put an empathetic spin on suicide. But he never directly said that's how your child died, but I knew that he knew that. And I feel like he did it so gracefully. He did it very gracefully. So I just remember after that going up to him and, thanking him and just going, thank you for, not addressing me directly in front of everyone, but making this like a global thing. But that one was a great sign, and the first conference was great. We're going to go. I guess I can explore my connection with Bob, which is...
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because coming on, she's talking about Bob Jacobs, everybody.
Yeah.
He's coming on to do gallery readings again.
He's going to do gallery readings, y'all, and he's very good. Bob's kind of an interesting character. He's a medium, and I think he's pretty much doing it full time now because he retired. He didn't have, and he doesn't charge anything for what he does because Spirit had told him not to charge anything. But very early on, and I should try and find it, when I was on Helping Parents Heal back in the early days, this was, just a few months in, Bob Jacobs and he never gets on Helping Parents Heal anymore, but he had posted this amazing, uplifting, positive post. And it was just one of those ones that you go back to when you're feeling bad, because it made me, he just talked about our kids in heaven. And he was like, he goes, you just have to believe me. They're doing great and everything's good. And, and it's like, it was just really positive, and several people commented on it. And then I guess maybe a week or so after that, I somehow got on the Helping Parents Heal group and started a gratitude group. I thought, let's, if anyone's interested, let's start this gratitude group. And a few people reached out, and Mary Burton was one of them. I don't know if y'all are familiar with her. She does the automatic writing. She's very good. And she says, I've got this guy, Bob Jacobs, that also wants to join. And I remember in my head, I was thinking, is this like the Bob Jacobs that had written that amazing, wonderful post? And it turned out to be that Bob Jacobs. So there was about 8 of us on our little we call it Attitude of Gratitude group. And we just posted, actually it was signs and stuff at the beginning. And then Bob eventually, a few months in, had started doing readings. He did readings for everyone in the group. And he did a reading for me, which was really good. And then he just kind of stopped for a second. He's like, he goes, can I contact you later in the week? It'll take about 10 minutes, but I need to explore something further with you. So, and I was fine. I didn't want to take up his time. But so he contacted me further, and it's still just weird. You guys will get it because you speak my language, but I can't really tell anyone outside. It's just really, he said that Reese had come through a few months before as one of his spirit guides. And he'd been connecting with Reese for a few months. And then when he did this reading, he didn't know it, but that I was Reese's mom. And he meditates every single day, I think. And he, connects with my son every day, which is really nice. I don't want to bug him all the time, but it's just great to know that someone is, connecting with our kids on the other side. But
I love that, because I
guess going back to,
I didn't know the story behind why he was so connected to Reese. So
it's
that's
really weird. Reese is one of his spirit guides, and Bob will reach out. I don't know, like 3 times a year, he'll reach out to me with a voicemail. And it's always like, he did it like 4 a.m. And I'm like, who was up at 4 a.m? But he'll be like, and he'll do this when he does the reading for us. So, he'd be like, I'm connecting to Reese, and he's showing me this, and this. And, and it's just, it's like, I would love to just bug him every day and go, what does Reese have to say? But you know, you just know, it's like this man in Iowa that lives in this rural town, and I'm in Texas, and it's like, what's the connection? But I can't really tell. And he's written, I guess, 3 books now, and one of them is about his spirit people, and Reese is mentioned in the book and stuff, and it's this weird connection. But yeah, I'll just think of one of the things that Bob, I guess it was like a year and a half ago, he had reached out, and he does this thing where he reaches out via voicemail, and he had because it was right around Reese's birthday. He always reaches out around those dates. It was right after Reese's birthday, but the night before, and he had sent us like 4 a.m. the night before, my daughter was getting married, and anyone that knows me, and I know Elizabeth knows me well to know this, I just don't like to dress up or wear dresses or anything, but I had to get a dress for the wedding. So I had to get something I got one on Amazon where I just ordered it, you know, and it did like, you know, measure yourself and do the sizes and stuff. And I didn't have one of those little, you know, tape things. So I went down in our garage and I searched, and I just grabbed a metal tape measure, and I went up and I had measured, you know, my waist and my hips and stuff, and I left the tape measure sitting on the dresser. And Bob goes, Reese, show me, were you measuring something? He goes, I see you measuring like your foot, or what were you measuring? And he goes, and he just showed me a tape measure. So Bob is good. He really is good. And so I would, you know, if you're available like that.
That is so funny. But also after the Connecticut last year, tell that story. Remember?
Okay, the Connecticut retreat. Yeah, I'll never forget. I went to the Connecticut retreat. Elizabeth was there, and I am on my iPad, y'all, and I don't have good eyes anyway, even with these glasses, so I can't read names, so I apologize for that. But yeah, we'd gone to the retreat. And okay, well, a couple things that happened for me was we got these I am statements, and I kept thinking, and Paige didn't tell us what they were, and I kept thinking, what could it be? And I was thinking, I am open-minded. That's the only thing I could, you know, I am open-minded. I am open-minded. Then I got mine, and it said, I am open, which was weird, you know. I mean, it was like, I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I was thinking. But Paige had done these long explanations where they were each tailored.
Actually, in all fairness, Kat.
Yeah, they were tailored.
Kat wrote those.
Okay,
Kat wrote those.
But you did a lot.
Give credit where credit's due.
And there were this long. And me and that night in the hotel, because me and Leanne shared a room, and they were like scrolls. And we pulled ours open, and I was reading mine, and it was more like, it wasn't like I'm open-minded. It's like, I'm completely open. I'm not transparent. I share everything. And it's like, no, that is not like me. I do not share everything about I wish I did more, but I felt like it was kind of like a yin yang, you know? And so I'm learning there was 2 ways to see open. So that happened. And then at the retreat, Kat, and it's amazing if she ever does this. It's just, you can't really explain it. But when she goes into trance, she can she can sing opera. And she was like, I'm going to do this at this retreat. I've never done this before. There was like 30, 35 of us. And so we're all in this room, you know, high ceilings and stuff. And she's like, I'm going to, what she did was she went into trance, and then she did in this operatic voice, which I'm not even going to try to do, but she sang each child's name, and she repeated it 3 times. So like Reese would be, Ree, and she would hold it really long, Ree, you know, and I don't know how she did it, but it was beautiful. And it took probably 40 minutes. And it was one of the most amazing things I'd ever heard. So the retreat was amazing. So I get back from the retreat, and this wasn't on Reese's angelversary or his birthday, which is the 2 times that Bob reaches out. But Bob sends me this voicemail. He's like, Reese is just jumping with excitement. He goes, what did you do this weekend? Something happened, and it was amazing. And he goes, first he said something like, there was something like maybe he used the word yin yang or something you didn't understand or it didn't make sense. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, that whole scroll. Oh, and he mentioned scroll. He goes, was there something with the scroll? And then he mentioned, he goes, and he's talking about echoes. Were you in some sort of chamber where it's like there was echoes? And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is one. Then he just all this other stuff. And I relate to, but he like a sombrero and a candy bar and well, I'm gonna send out a cat. And I did. She picked up on every single thing on the, I mean, she was able to, oh my God, all this stuff happened at
Kat
the
was
retreat.
really touched. Kat was so touched, Rhonda, because Bob said something like all of the kids are sending so much gratitude kind of thing. Cause it was like that. He really tuned into the fact that, you know, and not just kids. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, you know, I, as the mother of a child, I'm so sorry. All of our loved ones.
No. I know I'm in the minority.
Yeah, but just it's so ingrained in me, so I apologize. But all of our loved ones, it's not just kids. And they all just came in and told Bob to thank, you know, us, but Kat in particular, for that moment where she sang their name. So it was really special. Right, Rhonda?
And then we're Kat who's in England with Bob, who is this guy that lives in some rural little area in Iowa, I think, or Illinois. I'm not sure, but they're both mediums. And what was really, really cool, and some of you were probably in that meeting where Bob came on it, was that Bob and Kat gave each other readings. Which, you know, Bob was like, no one's ever given me a reading before. And I know Bob will.
I mean, I've heard from Kat that it's a big no-no, right, for a medium to try to read another medium on a public platform like that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But they did it, and it was like, it was cool, but she loved it. It was really cool. But generally speaking, it's kind of a no-no. But they did it, and I heard it was amazing.
Oh, it was, because one of Bob's things is, you know, we all have everyone in this group had just such tragic stories, unfortunately, but we've turned them into the spiritual awakening and love. And I've learned so much from my son, but, you know, Bob's story is that, and he's probably the most humble man I've ever met. I haven't met him, but yeah. When he was 22, he lived in a mobile home with his high school sweetheart. They got married and they had a 3-year-old son, and a drunk driver killed his high school sweetheart and the 3-year-old son. And, you know, Bob was only 22, and his he might talk a little bit about it on the thing, but his story is just that I think 28 years, he didn't mention, he did go on to get remarried and things are good, but he never talked about, and the whole town knew it because it was a little town, but he never ever talked about what happened until 28 years later. And he has what he calls it his white light experience, but it's kind of like a near-death experience, but it was his awakening. But yeah, so if you're available, he will be on, I guess, the 28th, I think it's a Sunday, and he's going to do gallery readings. And I know, like, last time he brought in Elizabeth's Ray, he brought Ray in. And that was good, right? You got, yeah.
I actually wasn't there. I think
but going back to, I guess.
Yeah, I think he came in through you.
You know, sometimes they can, because I got a message from Brian and I couldn't attend either. So you got a message from Ray, I got a message from Brian, and we weren't even in the Zoom.
Yeah.
You never know, but I have to think your odds are better if you're there. You get the energy in the room, right? But yeah. It's at 3:00 Eastern. It's April 28th. The event is already in the group. So he is a lovely, talk about just no pretenses, he's just a regular guy. He's just like, you know, just a regular guy. And he is so authentic. You guys are going to love him if you have not already seen him. So
kind
of posing is the word I'm looking for. So I like you, Rhonda, just very real and just natural. And yeah, because it's like when people like you and he present yourself to the group, to anybody, whether it's your affiliate group or whether it's this group, it's just all done with such love because you're coming with such authenticity. So I just want to thank you for that. And I want to acknowledge that in you. I really appreciate you so much.
Well, I enjoyed being here and seeing everyone. And I just happened to say, a little over 7 years in, I'm not freezing or anything, am I? Or
no,
can you guys hear me? I keep feeling like
a little bit, but you're better.
Okay. I hate to use, it was we've all been through a terrible thing, but there's also that I feel like my Reese has given me such a huge gift. I mean, I have no fear of death at all anymore. I don't, because I know that we go on and I'm going to see him again. And when I get in those little pangs of, sometimes if I see a kid at boys his age and, you get that little, what would he be doing? But then immediately I'm able to flip the switch pretty quick and just go, I know he's doing the same stuff over there. And this whole thing down here is really just temporary. I think we put too much stock into life down here. It's not going to last long. And this is such a small part of the picture. And, I feel like a few years ago, it really, because it's like, does this really sink in? But I remember a couple of years ago, I had a mammogram and, and they found a lump. And it snowed in Texas like one time in 100 years, but it happened to be right around the time when it snowed in Texas. And I was supposed to go that following Monday to get all the, they were going to do all the extra stuff. And then it snowed in Texas. So the whole state shut down. And then that whole week everything got shut down. So it ended up it was like 10 days later that I was able to finally get in, and they had to do a little extra imaging and stuff, and I'm not saying that I want to die. I'm not saying that, but it was like, I had no stress. I mean, the old me would have been like, they rescheduled, snowing, we can't, but it was like, I felt Reese was right with me. And no matter what happened, I'm going to be okay. And, I just feel like because of, I don't want to use the word sacrifice, but all our kids, I mean, we would all, definitely turn around and have them back here. But I've met like wonderful people on this journey. I mean, the most amazing friends that are authentic friends. And they're the friends that we're going to be friends till the end. I mean, we have the friends in our lives that come and go, but all of us are going to be walking hand in hand to the end. And then we'll see each other on the other side, and we'll go, oh gosh.
Yeah, I love it.
I feel like I'm at a good place. And I never thought I would be. When it first happens, your life is shattered.
Yeah. Rhonda, are you 7 years in then? 7 years?
I'm freezing again. Can you guys?
Are you 7 years into the journey? You're muted right now. Do you guys have any questions? Anybody have any questions while she's getting reset there? Anybody? Let's open it up to questions, yes. Rhonda, can you hear me? Okay. Questions? Just unmute and ask your question if you. I agree with what you said about not being afraid of death. And, I think it was Tom Zuba years ago who said something like, gifts in the journey. He talks about gifts on the journey, right, in his book, Permission to Mourn. And it's so hard, when we're in the early years to see there's no gift in this, like, how dare you, like, worse words would come out of my mouth, like there's no gift. And, but now, after some years, Rhonda, you and I both, we can look back and we can, Carolyn, you've got some years now. I can't see everybody in the room right now either, but you can recognize some of the gifts. And one of the gifts is the not being afraid to die. Carolyn, you going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm 4 years in, but I feel like my journey is just going so much quickly because Paige, you and Rhonda, you guys just introduced me to so much amazing information. so, I don't want to say smoothly. Of course, it's not smooth, but it just really has gotten easier. And Rhonda, I met you in Connecticut, and my Kara was 16 when she transitioned, and she was a big swimmer also. And I feel that she's with Reese also sometimes. Sometimes when I'm riding with her, I just feel like there's a gang around here, and Christina and Reese are in that circle. And Brian too, of course, because his mom has taught me so much.
No, but that's cool because
Kara
and Kara's another
baby. I remember because Kara was 16 or 17 when she crossed.
She was 16.
Was Kara 16 or? Yeah, I did, because
she was 16.
Me and Carolyn partnered at it, and we were just talking about the kiddos having so much. They were just alike.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think our kids bring us all together in different ways, and it's pretty amazing.
Let me unmute myself. I'm convinced that they're working on the other side, bringing us together. I mean, it's no secret that Brian's doing what he does on his side, right? And I think all the kids are over there, and that's what they're doing. They're bringing, it's like, oh, your mom, have your mom call my mom or whatever. And because I think that they know better than we do how we can help each other on the journey. And sometimes there's such a big group of us, people mourning somebody we love, but yet in that whole big huge universe of people who are mourning someone we love, it's us, it's our group, our Transcending Grief group, and some of our other groups that have come together for a reason. And it's because we resonate with each other. It's not just that we have someone we love in spirit, but there's something about the connection either between our children or between us or both that makes it those lifetime relationships that you talk about. I told my husband, I sometimes I feel so disconnected from my other friends now because my online community is my world. If I even think about withdrawing from the work that I do, I start just kind of hyperventilating because I don't know what I would do if I couldn't talk to you all every day, because I've kind of lost touch with the normal people in my life. You know what I mean? So anyhow, I agree with you, Rhonda, that the community that we involve ourselves in are so critically important to our healing and really to our survival, I think, for the rest of our time here.
Can I just add something?
Yeah, hi, Karen, it's good to see you.
I sometimes try.
Hi, it's Karen. I was just going to add some comments because Paige and Rhonda, you two ladies were at the forefront for me when my son transitioned. I'm coming up on 3 years. It's Benjamin's birthday tomorrow, actually. But Paige, I saw you when you did that interview with Tom Zuba. And I was he was one of the first that I found after Helping Parents Heal. And you were being interviewed about your book. And I had to get that right away. And that was just, oh my God, so healing. I just kept reading, the end of each chapter, the little takeaways. Those
the
are
little
phenomenal.
Spirit messages. Oh, thank you so much. Thanks.
I was carrying, your book and Permission to Mourn were like my Bibles for the first year. I had to they're my security blanket. And every time I'd start to go to the dark, I'd pull it out and read and look. And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. And Rhonda, you were just showing up everywhere. I noticed on the Helping Parents Heal when we would post, and of course the newer folks might not post for a bit, but everywhere there's Rhonda. And I like to look up, who is the parent and how long they've been there, and just give me a sense, are they how far down the road, or they're newer on the journey, that sort of thing. And I just saw Rhonda Andrews, and all this stuff. And I was so grateful. I felt like I had this connection with you, even though we don't know each other. Just I could count on Rhonda to be there and saying blessings to all of us on the journey. And I have to say, between both of you and where my son led me so quickly that I was seeing gifts at the end of the first year, and whoever would have thought of that, like I'm 3 years in and I'm already looking for ways to give back. But I mean, it's just amazing how our kids are just, and more the groups and what you're putting together is enabling the newer ones to get up to speed so much more quickly. if
Well,
we
that's
choose
the goal,
to.
right?
As you
I'm
said.
sure that's the goal.
Yeah.
Is I said
Yeah.
that if we can just take one little ounce of pain away from your journey, right? That we walked that, we walked it so you don't have to, kind of thing. But you're right about Rhonda. She's, I mean, I feel the same way. Everywhere I look, it's like Rhonda commenting, and it's always positive. It's never sad. It's always positive. Uplifting.
Am I frozen still, or can you guys hear me?
It's in and
I
out.
hear you now. I'm gonna mute.
We hear you now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
How about now?
Yeah, we hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just going to mention one last little thing I had in my notes, if you can hear me. But we all have those really weird things that happen that it's just like, oh my God, this is no other explanation. And I use my pendulum a lot, which is great. That was another thing I got at the first, Christine Salter did the pendulum thing. And I use it. I just do yes, no, and I love you and stuff. But one night, and I swear to God, I was using the pendulum and I stopped, and it came to a stop. And I sat and stared at it. And you guys, I'm not kidding. It lifted up. Did I tell you this, Paige? It turned back. This went on for like 30 seconds. I mean, I'm not talking going back and forth. I'm talking like hands came in and physically moved it and lifted it and turned it to the side. And I've never seen anything like it. And that was kind of like my, oh my God, there's spirit right here doing something. And of course, it's never done that since then, but it blew me away. So that was kind of my little weird thing
That's
I know
really
we all have those.
That's 2 times in 2 days that somebody has told me they had an amazing experience with the pendulum. And I had been considering dropping pendulum from Mom Child Reunion. Isn't that funny? So that's 2 times in 2 days. So if it comes the 3rd time, I won't drop it. No, I'm not going to drop it, but I'm going to condense it, into a smaller thing. Anyhow, Carolyn knows what I'm talking about. Muncie knows what I'm talking about. Okay, so Rhonda, you're amazing. You just
thank you all. You all are just amazing. I love y'all, and we'll keep walking the journey hand in hand, and then we'll get to the other side little by little.
Oh my God! Listen, when we get to the other side, can we just have a big freaking party? Can we just be like a party and be like, we did it? Oh my God, we did it!
Yes.
Yes. Because we're gonna really, there's gonna be a lot of this going on. Like, we did it. Anyhow, thank you so much, everybody, for coming and sharing time with me and Rhonda. We really appreciate you. We love you so much. And Karen, I want you to know that we'll be thinking about you tomorrow. Benjamin's 3rd year of his passing. Is that what you said? Is it Benjamin?
Yeah.
I've written it down. I'm gonna send some Reiki tonight. Okay.
Yeah.
And
actually, Paige, it's his birthday tomorrow. 3 years in May. So
okay,
birthday tomorrow. Thank you, though.
He still gets birthday love.
Thank you. We have some special stuff that might happen with my daughter tomorrow. She has a really important being pregnant or not.
Okay.
And it just
yeah, that's interesting, Karen. Interesting. Okay, so, all right, everybody. Well, I'm going to let you go. Rhonda, I love you so much.
I love you all.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
for coming
Thank you.
and listening to me
Thank you.
babble.
See you soon, everybody.
That was a good babble.
Bye.